You have covertly made your way through the giant glass doors of the entrance of the Museum of Modern Artifacts in Manhattan. Using your Coven's lockpicks, you waited until after hours, about 10 p.m., to infiltrate the building to take this artifact on display here to return it to its rightful owners through a faction you are well liked by, a group of witches, the Vulture Votary. They have tasked you with returning the Mugwump statuette. Inside the building, you see a light turn on and hear a tiny voice of a young girl come from a decent distance away.
Is anybody in here?
What do you all do?
I would like to gather information because I am suspicious of small, childish voices.
Yeah, to see if this is somebody who we would expect to be here or if it's just a child that got lost.
Little girls can be scary.
And then a few seconds later, another light closer to you turns on. Not close enough to illuminate any of you.
Can I simply command the little girl to go away?
Yeah, what would you be saying to her? And do you want to get any closer or lay eyes on her before you do that?
Well, that would probably be a good idea.
Are you going alone, or is anyone going with you?
I will go and see who this little girl is.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
I would like to remain hidden, but try to make my way closer while sticking to the shadows, but not very close to the group.
Yeah, that makes sense. Elise, you get up to the edge of the light, and you can see in the well-lit area a young girl, probably about 12 years old. Blue jean jacket is covering a school uniform skirt. She has a big gulp cup in her hand, and she's looking around.
All right. We'll stay right there at the edge of the light. Maybe she can see me, maybe not. And I will tell her, the museum is closed. You must leave.
The effect level is going to be greater effect because you sound older.
All right, it's worth the risk. Let's roll these dice.
That was a partial success. You do what you wanted, but there is a cost associated with it. When she gets back, she's going to tell that she saw someone in the museum. She doesn't have a very good description of you because you're in the shadows, but it's going to add 1 fate to your coven. She makes a beeline for the door and doesn't ask questions. Does that sound good?
Certainly seems fair.
Okay. You can always make a resistance roll if you were to decide, no, I wouldn't abide that. So we'll take that as a partial success. She heads back through the well-lit areas and away from you at a decent speed. She drops her big gulp and then heads to a set of double doors to leave.
I have a quick question about willpower and time. It doesn't necessarily function linearly.
Yeah. You can do a flashback. Flashbacks cost willpower. A 0 willpower flashback would be something that your character had plenty of time to do and was not very complicated. Something that's a little complicated or required contingencies might cost you 1 willpower. If the contingencies and complexity are extreme, that'll cost you 2 willpower.
Okay. So I have impersonation. If Elise's command were to fail horribly, would I be able to use willpower to impersonate a security guard?
Yeah, you could impersonate a security guard and help resist that effect. That's part of teamwork and wouldn't even require a flashback. That would be a 1 willpower teamwork action called Protect, where you're protecting another player from the consequences. You would just spend the essence cost to cast that grimoire power and take that cost away from Elise's action.
Okay, great. Thanks for clearing that up for me.
You're welcome. What are you all doing next?
Now that the little girl has left, I would like to join the rest of the group.
Did you follow her to make sure she left, or are you just watching from the shadows?
I would like to be coming back from the doors she came from.
You might need to make an action roll for that. If you were keeping an eye on her from the shadows and making sure that she did as she was commanded, you could decide what action you want to roll. I would recommend target or prowl, but It's up to you how you want to accomplish that.
Okay, I think I will do prowl.
Okay, when you get over there, she did not leave. She tried her best, but the doors were barred from the inside as well as from the outside. As she's going around to find another door that's unlocked, she knocks into a small pedestal, and one of the artifacts goes toppling to the floor and will shatter if it hits.
I'm assuming that Seth is the only one close enough to do anything about that.
Unless one of you wants to bring in your familiar to stop it from hitting the floor. Everybody has control over their familiars at any given time.
But it would have to be someone else's because mine would just get squashed by it.
I can have my panther catch it.
Yeah, catch it in what way?
I would say in the mouth.
Okay. What kind of action do you want to roll for that? This is going to use your character's action ratings. You can choose what action rating you think would be appropriate.
I don't know what would be best for that.
This item is a bowl made of rainbow abalone shell.
That's beautiful. Would finesse?
Absolutely. Finesse sounds perfect. You can describe how your panther catches it and what all that looks like.
My black panther materializes out of the shadows seemingly and catches the bowl in its mouth.
You're in charge of the narration, so however you want it to go, that sounds great. So the cost, however, the little girl sees the panther and is going to run away rather than just trying to exit.
If the little girl is distracted, would I be able to unlock the door?
You're trying to do this without being seen, or are you going to go ahead and turn into a security guard so that it's not a big deal if she sees you?
I would like to do the impersonation because I believe that would make more sense.
Okay, I'm not going to call for a roll on that because I think that's exactly the kind of thing she would expect/hope to see. So it's going to be a matter of whether you can get that door open.
So these aren't the doors that we came in.
No, this is another set of double doors that leads out to a different promenade. So Vita, that's up to you whether the panther slinks back into the shadows.
It does. It's a very shy panther.
Excellent. Okay, then Seth, would you like to make a roll with your lockpicking? That would probably be finesse.
Okay. And what do I need to do for my impersonation?
Just mark off the number of points of essence on your character sheet, the power says. Since you are not trying to impersonate a specific person, your security guard could look or sound like anybody and it would be convincing. I wouldn't call for a roll for that.
Okay. I would like to do the 2 willpower.
Excellent. The dice are liking you guys tonight, so that's another success at a cost. What about the girl is completely calmed by everything you've done, your demeanor as a security guard, but something about you comes across to her as fishy. Maybe your impersonation wasn't perfect and she sees a webbed hand unlocking the door.
Yes, that makes sense to me. I just smell like a tuna sandwich.
I feel like, this child's parents are going to be quite shocked by her imagination.
I don't think I'll challenge it. At this point, she's not supposed to be there, so she's going to get in trouble with her parent.
You usher her out the door. Anything you say to her as she's leaving?
This is all a dream.
Yes, please be aware of our closing hours. If this happens again, I will need to contact your parents.
All right. She looks surprised, but she just stomps and heads off. You lock the door behind her.
Yes, I would like to lock it. Don't need any more surprise visitors. Do I need to do another roll for that?
Nope. That's not going to be a problem for you. Do you want to drop the security guard guys or stay in that form for now?
I'll keep it up in case there are any more surprises.
Can I do a flashback to have picked up a brochure to know where in the museum this statue at my feet?
Yeah, 0 willpower flashback. You find that pamphlet is a little bit out of date. It looks like there's a new exhibit. Once you bypass that, everything else is exactly the way you expected. So I'm going to say That took you a little bit of extra time, and I'm going to start a clock that has 6 segments, and the clock is called Spotted by Security. The longer you spend in here, the more chances there are for that clock to get ticked, and once it gets 6 ticks in it, you are spotted by security. Hollis has blazed a trail ahead and made a beeline for the statuette. The rest of you are going to need a roll to keep up. She has gone. The rest of you might be doing other things to prepare.
Small and fast and oblivious to everybody.
Seth, Elise, and Vita, what would you like to do to catch up to her or do something else entirely?
I would follow. I'm always wearing a dark cloak, so I'm just going to stay in the shadows and also keep an eye out for other things in the museum that might look rather interesting.
I would recommend a group action, which is where all 3 of you make prowl roll, and if you're successful, you all get the benefits. We take the highest of what everybody rolls.
And if I were to use my master planner ability, that would make the willpower of that action much cheaper?
Yeah, it absolutely would.
Simply must use that.
That applies to any group action that you lead. The person who spends willpower to make sure the action goes well doesn't have to be the person who's best at it, doesn't have to be the person who recommends that course of action. It just might mean that you're coordinating the efforts.
All right, then let's do that.
You all failed, but you all take the result of a failure in a risky situation is moderately significant.
I'm still disguised as the security guard. Could I challenge that if we've already been caught on camera? It looks like I'm escorting them out of the building.
Yes, absolutely. That is awesome. And as far as Seth, your plan, I think that sounds like an insight resistance roll. That'll tell us how much willpower it costs for you to have thought of that plan ahead of time, and if you're caught on camera, for them to see you as a security guard doing something that makes sense. Awesome. You resisted the effect and spent no willpower. You describe what it is you do that makes the guards not interested in following up.
So there's essentially security cameras that caught us. I'll play it up for the camera a little bit. I will grab both of them by an arm, and I will put their arm behind their back, pinned, and I will escort them out of the room, making a big show about forcing them out of this room where the cameras are located.
Okay,
So-
excellent.
So
Now we'll need another plan to catch up with Hollis. Or we can switch to Hollis, and Hollis can find a way to get in contact with all of you.
Can I just grab the statue and run back to where everybody else is?
Yeah, we could freeze what's going on with Seth, Elise, and Vita, and head over to Hollis, who is standing in front of the Mugwump statuette and deciding how she's going to tackle that.
That works for me.
Hollis, you see the statuette, and it is much smaller than you expected. It's only about 3 inches tall, and it looks like it's carved out of some kind of dark wood. But it is surrounded by a circular piece of plexiglass that's about 8 feet tall and sitting on a little pedestal.
So could I freeze the plexiglass with Tartarus ice and break it to get the statue?
Yeah, do you want to enhance that grimoire powers to make it stronger?
Yeah, I think I'm spending 2 willpower, 2 essence, and I'm gonna roll a focus to freeze the plexiglass.
Excellent. So why don't you describe how that goes?
She's going to place her hands on the glass and start mumbling rock and mud, and the glass is going to freeze and start steaming from being so cold, and her breath can be seen because of the coldness radiating off of the glass, and it freezes all the way through.
Does it shatter instantly, or do you want to hit it?
Hollis will just flick it with her middle finger and shatter it into a million pieces.
All right. A chunk of plexiglass shatters and leaves an opening for you to get to the Mugwump statue.
So I'm going to snatch it and run.
Okay. Heading back to your coven mates.
I prowl as quickly as I can.
Okay.
Maybe I tick some of those clocks.
Yeah, it takes you a little bit of time to get back to them, and when you do, you're pretty sure you've been caught on camera at least once, but probably from the shadows. Not enough to have set off any alarms.
I'm child size, so I could be that little girl that got lost in here earlier.
All right. So why don't the three of you describe what Hollis sees when she comes back with the Mugwump statuette? What the three of you are up to.
I'd like to be silently chastising them for almost blowing it for us.
Keeping up appearances.
Definitely, for sure.
You found a break room, and that's when Hollis comes back through.
I pull the statue out of my shirt. I'm like, I got it.
Something else you want to do in here? Maybe grab another artifact, or you could all try to escape.
What else is there in this museum?
That would require you to head back deeper into the museum, or a flashback to get some extra information about what's here and if it might be something that you're interested in taking.
Any other items in the Vault Observatory we're interested in?
They sent you here very specifically to get that one item. They didn't have any other they specified.
I
We
do
got
believe,
vibes.
since the statuette is so small and we can easily hide it, I think we should keep going through the museum and see if we see anything else interesting.
Does this pamphlet that Hollis had list where the security room is?
It has at least 3 doors that could lead to security or other employee-only areas.
If the rest of the group is interested and they want to stay in the museum, I could look for the security room and sabotage security tapes.
I vote aye.
Yeah, let's steal some more things.
I'd like to stay.
Awesome. Seth, what do you want to do to find the security room?
I have both survey and study.
Doing a study on the map might help you figure out which one of those 3 doors might be the most useful to check out first.
Okay.
Anybody who wants to assist can spend 1 willpower, which would give Seth an extra die to roll.
I shall certainly assist.
Okay, so what does that look like with Elise and Seth hovering over Hollis's pamphlet?
I imagine the two of them would just be turning it about and trying to rationalize which room is less likely to support anything other than security.
Looking for something less likely to be an adjoining exhibit room, something that's maybe off without a connection would make sense for a security room.
Yeah, does that look like a completely friendly exchange?
I would assume Elise is probably pinching her nose at my tuna fish smell.
Elise tends to hold her tongue, but she might also be holding her nose indeed.
Awesome.
One thing, before Seth heads off, I would like to put Little Whisper on Seth's shoulder. That's my little spider.
Sounds good. Seth, you cool with that?
I'm cool with that, as long as they stay on the opposite side of Ribbert. Don't want Ribbert eating Whisper.
Perish the thought.
He'd perish all right.
That was a great assist. The two of you come to an agreement on which door to try first. Seth, are you going alone with the 2 familiars?
I'm currently the only one disguised, so I'm fine going by myself unless Elise would like to tag along.
I think it's best I stay where I am, assuming my familiar can act without me.
Yeah, it absolutely can. Seth, you come to a nondescript door with 2 pillars on either side of it, and you are fairly certain that you have found the security office. You can hear what sounds like a bag of chips rustling from the other side of the door.
Are there any ventilation shafts? Would Whisper be able to slip in?
Yeah, there's good ventilation.
Actually, I have an idea. Would I be able to attempt to get Ribbert to make noise to draw the security guard out and I subdue them?
Yeah, No reason we can't do both of these. It sounds like a brawl from Seth and Elise.
It has passive camouflage.
That would give you potence on the action. You would have greater effect because it's so small and well hidden.
All right, then I suppose I'll be rolling a prowl to get that little spider in through the vent.
Okay. The spider makes its way inside. There is a fan going inside one of the vents, and it's pushing your spider around. Seth, do you want to describe what happens when you get their attention and try to ambush them? Considering that roll, they come out and they're not convinced that you are who you say you are.
I get into it with them. They ask to see my badge, and I don't have one. But I try to get them to look at the cameras to see that I was escorting people out of the building.
Let me determine what those consequences are, and you can decide which parts you want to resist. There are two guards, and they both come outside of the room. They immediately suspect that you aren't who you say you are because you don't look like anybody they've worked with in the past. One of them puts his hand on his baton on his hip, and he looks like he's ready to whip out his baton if any funny business happens.
I attempt to explain to them I'm on the day shift. That's why you don't recognize me, but I was escorting people out.
I don't know if you're impersonating a male or a female security guard right now.
I'll be a dude.
He looks directly into your eyes and says, he's lying. He's with those thieves. The other one, who had his hand on his baton, turns around and runs back into the security room. So you can resist with prowess.
I would like to resist the one going back into the room in case he's gonna contact the police or hit some kind of alarm system.
Yeah, how do you want to stop him?
I'll grab him by his belt, maybe.
Okay, sounds good.
At this point, because my spider is there, could I alert the rest of the group that Seth is in trouble?
Yeah.
All right, code red. I think we all need to head over there.
Okay.
Okay. You don't need to make a roll because Elise knows the exact path.
Can I go ahead and grow out my talon?
Yep, absolutely. Just spend one essence and decide where on your body the talon is.
It will be on my hand.
Okay. And Seth, if you want to break away from these guards to prevent yourself from getting hurt, you could do that with a brawl roll, or you could just take them on and see if you can take them out.
Could I shapeshift into a python to constrict them?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're trying to grab one of them, that's probably going to be a risky standard effect. If you're trying to grab both of them at the same time, that might be lesser effect.
I'm already grabbing the one by his belt. I spring and use 2 more willpower for that.
Yep. And I had forgotten that you already had your hand on that first guy's belt. Yeah, I would say standard effect.
Okay, so I'll mark my 2 willpower and I'll do.
There is a chance of you taking physical harm. That's actually quite good. So you can describe exactly how you grab a hold of these two and keep them from heading anywhere.
With my one hand already on the security guard's belt, that hand will turn into a tail, and that changeling appearance will shift up my body, extend my body, and I will use my torso to wrap around the second security guard while I wait for the rest of my group.
Awesome. Awesome. Yep. So when they all come into the room, they see...
Between 10, 15 feet. Anaconda kind of works with the color palette.
Okay, awesome. You all come around the corner and you see an anaconda that has completely entangled these 2 guards. They are being completely incapacitated by this giant snake.
Sup, guys?
Any of the 3 of you can take an action if you want.
Can I charge them with my talon?
Absolutely. What do you want to do with it?
I'll slit the guard's throat that Seth is not wrapped around.
Okay. What do you want to roll for that? You're coming into the area, so this could easily be a spring. This could be a brawl.
Can I do finesse?
Yeah, throat cutting could definitely be finesse.
Okay. So I will roll finesse.
And Seth, if you want, you could give an assist.
Sure, I have some left. I'll give 1 willpower.
Vita, you can roll 1 extra die. Awesome. You get to describe exactly how this looks when you finesse your way up to the guard and slash his throat.
I'm running towards the guard, and my cloak falls back, and you see all my snakes hissing on my head because I am a purple gorgon. And I have my talon growing out of my hand, and I just slit the guard's throat, and he falls limp to the floor, bleeding everywhere.
Awesome. Yep, that's what's happening. Anybody else want to take an action?
I would like to call hold for a second after this gory scene and make use of my mental takeover power on the guard who hasn't been maimed yet. I want to reach deep into the recesses of his mind to discover where good artifacts are around here. If we're going to waste the time robbing the place, we might as well get the good stuff.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. If you want to increase your effect level or increase your number of dice, you can push yourself for 2 willpower.
Yes, I would push myself and give myself an extra little dice advantage.
Excellent. Let's see how you do.
How miserable.
Okay, obviously there's something weird going on here, because this is something that your character is very good at. It's a very specialized power. When you reach out and put your hand on his head, you feel daggers in your own mind, and a pendant in his shirt pocket starts glowing so brightly it glows through the cloth. Apparently, you have triggered a charm he had on him, and you are going to take level 2 harm. You can use resolve resistance to resist the charm's effect.
Certainly like to do that.
Awesome. Okay, you feel those daggers trying to pierce into your mind, and you fight it off completely. You don't take any harm whatsoever. And you get a vision that pierces through the guard's mind. You see the face of the witch who created this charm. A jovial-looking woman with long brown hair. You feel her presence nearby.
We are not alone.
Seth, do you want to just choke this guy out and get rid of him?
I was just going to ask that if I could just squish him and we end this, then we can work on destroying the evidence in the security room.
Yeah, he's completely at your mercy.
I will choke him to incapacitate him and let his boss find him in the morning, having brutally murdered his partner.
Yep. All right. Unless someone is taking action, the guard who's had his throat cut is bleeding out. The other guard is now unconscious from asphyxiation.
I want to take that charm.
You find a slate gray worry stone in his pocket, and you take it out. It seems like it might still have just a little bit of power left in it, fully at the whim of the witch who created it. So carrying it could potentially open you up to her spell work.
Might there be any advantage to studying it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, I'd love to do a study roll.
Do you happen to have the psychometry general power?
I do.
The fish knows what they're doing. I'll let them do their thing.
Seth, are you going to transform back into a guard or back into your normal self?
I'll go back to my original form. I'll do that, and then the psychometry.
Yeah, it's a gather information roll. Usually a study.
Okay, so I'll do a study roll.
This witch has some abilities to affect minds. I'm going to say it's still risky. Okay, that's a perfect gather information roll. You get a lot of emotions off of this worry stone. The person who cast it, Tina, works here, and she hates her job. You get seething hatred off of this item. She seems like the kind of person that if you guys got to her, she probably wouldn't put up any kind of fight if you gave her an alternative. Is there anything else you want to know about her emotionally?
Do we have any idea what her relation with the guard was?
They were dating. That's the one you didn't kill.
We're at the security room. Maybe we go in and take a peek at the cameras so we can actually see all the exhibit rooms.
Yeah. I assume you're trying to find any recordings to destroy them.
Yeah, destroy recordings where we've been on camera and get an idea of the layout of the museum, maybe. Do you guys want to do a group study?
I think that's a good idea.
I quite agree.
So that only costs you a total of 2 willpower, and you guys get the result of a 6, which is a complete success. You found exactly the recordings that you were looking for, and were able to erase, destroy, or however you want to handle that.
We were trying to erase any recordings of us and see into all the other rooms through the recordings and
Right.
where else we may want to go.
So we could use this as an opportunity to potentially sabotage all of the equipment after we remove our stuff, and then potentially make it easier for us in the future for another escapade over here.
I agree.
Awesome. Okay, you find the master switch, the electronic locks that can lock down or completely unlock the entire place, except for those doors that had physical locks on them. And you have an idea of where some of the most expensive artifacts are now as well.
Let's go shopping.
Okay. If that's where you guys are headed, I will make a fortune roll and see some of the things you find.
Before we head out, Hollis, being the Baba, needs to put her hands on that dead person just to make sure their spirit's gone and that they'll be all right.
I'm sorry, I can be a little hot-headed at times.
It's fine. Death is just a new beginning.
Thought I was the violent one.
I have snakes for hair and a talon that grows out of any part of my body I wish it to.
You are all drawn to the main floor. You get down there and find the least descript box for a artifact to be in. What you find is a tiny gold coin, smaller than a penny. It's in a 7-inch box of plexiglass and sitting on a pedestal.
Do we have any information on this coin besides it being tiny and gold?
Yeah, there's a little plaque. It says that it is the pentacle of Solomon, and that it is known to bless its holder with riches.
I think we need that.
So what's the plan to get it?
And you said it's just in a box?
It's in an extremely thick plexiglass box, very similar to the one Hollis found earlier, just thicker and completely enclosed.
I feel like maybe we should ask Hollis to try breaking this box with the ice again?
Yeah, I'll definitely give it a try.
Seems like the most sensible course of action, especially if this is entirely encased.
I also have crafting tools. Would that be something that could potentially help?
It's a good contingency in case things go wrong. How many essence do you want to spend on Invoke Tartarus?
I'm gonna spend 3 this time, so it's a little bit stronger than it was last time since it's thicker and all the way around. And I'll spend 2 willpower to push myself.
Pushing for an extra die on your focus roll?
Yeah.
Alright, Hollis, why don't you describe what you do with Invoke Tartarus?
Okay, same as last time. She puts her hands on the glass and starts mumbling in a weird little language that nobody really understands, but the glass starts to crystallize on the outside and freezes all the way through, and it lets off such a cool sensation that all of you guys are kind of chilled to your little toes. And she again flicks the glass and it shatters.
A rain of tiny chunks of cold plexiglass shatter onto the floor, and amidst the rubble sits the Solomon's pentacle.
Would it be worth me doing a psychometry on this?
Yeah, I would love to know where it came from and who made it and bits like that.
How many ticks do we have? We may want to do that once we leave.
The witch is still around. Currently, you still only have 2 ticks on the clock out of 6.
So it's up to you guys. Should I do the psychometry now or later?
Always patient.
Yeah, I'm thinking we might want to take it back to the Coven instead, just to be super safe.
Alright.
Also, the creator of the artifact can't track you based on where you take the artifact, unlike charms. So it is a little bit more safe to take home.
And I was assuming the creator of this artifact is probably dead.
That's very possible, unless it got this name anachronistically. Does anyone want to explore further?
What do you guys think? Huck the charm in a trash can, grab the coin and keep looking, or do we want to get out of here after all the damage we've caused?
I think we should find the witch. I have an idea of what to do with her.
I like the sound of that.
Okay. Earlier, when you interfaced with that charm, you did feel that her presence was close, and that feeling hasn't gone away any of the places you've been yet. You have already been through one of the 3 unmarked doors, so there are 2 more. One of those most likely leads to where this witch is staying.
Yeah, I would assume they would have to have her some sort of office kind of situation that wouldn't have a lot of electronics in it because she could short circuit them.
That's true.
So maybe the option that's the furthest away from the security room?
Makes sense to me.
The other option would be for you 4 to split into 2 groups of 2 and tackle both doors.
If we do that, we should exchange familiars, so each group has a familiar from the other group and has an idea of what is going on with the other group.
Yeah, that's smart. My familiar is a screech owl, so it's relatively small, so it wouldn't take up a whole lot of space.
Mine's a frog, so it can fit in anybody's pocket.
And mine's a spider, so it's barely even here.
Mine is a large black panther that I can ride, so very noticeable.
Yeah. Alright, so who's going with who? All of you have all of your senses with either group.
Will the kitty cat bother me because I smell like tuna fish? I'm good with anyone, whoever wants to pair up, but I don't know how well the panther will get along with me.
So maybe Seth and Vita go together.
I would
That
look
makes sense.
beautiful walking next to a panther.
Okay, so Hollis and Elise and the panther.
I could put Whisper the spider back on my shoulder again.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Which group do we want to follow first? Seth and Vita or Elise and Hollis?
I could go first.
So Vita and Seth group prowl, or how do you want to do that?
I can lead.
Awesome. Okay. Okay, a fun one. So we have a big failure there, so let me describe the consequences.
I'm sorry.
Okay, were either of you carrying the pentacle?
I thought Hollis was, but I don't know if we actually officially decided to.
Yeah, you're right, she was the one that picked it up. I have an idea for a consequence if one of the 2 of you grabbed it. Are you cool with that, Hollis?
Yeah, that's fine.
Vita, you can't get enough of turning it over and over in your hand. You feel like it's already starting to work. There's wealth coming to you, and you get an intense burning sensation in the tips of your fingers, and it starts reaching up your body. This is going to be level 2 harm, spell scorched.
How do I use resist?
This would be a insight resist for you to have realized what it was that was causing it quickly. Wow. Awesome. So that's a crit. You completely resist the effect. You notice so quickly that it was the coin that was causing it that you're able to get it away from you before the burning even goes past your fingertips. You take no harm and you recover 1 willpower.
Amazing. Do we still have the coin though?
After a few moments, you can feel that the effect is gone. One of you can pick it back up.
What a relief.
It seems that you're being targeted by the witch. You can feel that was somebody's spell work.
I put it in a leather pouch I have and don't hold it in my hand anymore.
The 2 of you, Elise and Hollis, are heading through another set of unmarked doors to investigate and see if you can find the witch there.
I guess we could also do a group prowl.
It's certainly worth a try.
Yeah, roll like Vita and you guys will be there in no time.
I can lead this group action.
That's perfect. Fingers crossed I don't make an absolute mess.
No, that's me.
They
So,
both rolled ones.
Elise and Hollis, the witch that works here, has sensed your presence, was having glitches with her radio, couldn't get a good signal, but it's finally working, and she's actually able to let people know that there are intruders.
Should we get out of here then?
The clock is not quite full yet. They haven't sent a response team. They are one tick away.
So are we pretty sure she's in one of these two rooms?
Yeah, about 99% sure that she's in either the room that Seth and Vita are heading towards or the one that Elise and Hollis are heading towards. Elise and Hollis make it to the door, and the door appears to be unlocked.
Open these doors and see if she's in there.
At least one person from each team knows what's going on at the other location.
That's true. Yeah, you have visuals. You can see through the eyes of your familiar as well as hear through their ears, etc. You have a pretty good idea of what's going on.
Could we maybe try to use spring to burst through a door for the element of surprise? The witch just has a vague idea of our presence.
Yeah, because that clock's not full yet, we'll say vague. Even though you're two groups in separate places, you could do a group spring with all four of you all springing through your doors at the same time so that you do catch anybody off guard no matter which door they're behind.
Just to be clear, how far away are these two doors from each other?
The one Hollis and Elise went into was down a really long hallway that's not the same architecture as the rest of the building, so it's all stone and it's not that like fancy, mostly glass and black metal that the rest of the building's made out of. This one seems like a access tunnel. It's a pretty good distance away from the other one. The other one was the standard interior building architecture. All right, does somebody want to lead this, or do you all want to make separate spring actions?
I'll lead the group.
Okay.
Had so many failures in a row, and I'm not feeling so great about my dice rolls.
What about a fey bargain instead of willpower?
Yep, you can do a fey bargain. Are you asking for one?
Yes.
I should have done that.
I think it's going to be that last tick on the clock no matter what. She's going to make the call to security. So it's going to start a new clock, a countdown to security arriving. But you get a bonus die for that. And then you mark a fey bargain on your sheet. Does anybody else want to use willpower to push yourself or take a fey bargain to get an extra die?
I believe I should also take a fey bargain.
I'll take one as well.
Okay. So for Elise, how old is Elise?
I would say probably about 38.
You try to shoulder open the door, and you're going to either twist your ankle or maybe throw out your shoulder just a little bit. You're going to take a little bit of harm from doing it no matter what.
Sensible. She's probably in heels anyhow.
All right. So you can mark a fey bargain on your sheet and mark a level 1 harm. You can decide what kind of harm that is, but it should be something relatively minor, like a bruise or a sprain. And then, Seth, you also wanted a fey bargain?
Yes, please.
Were you the one that used psychometry on the worry stone?
That was me, yeah.
Okay. How about for your fey bargain, the witch is able to reverse engineer that connection, and she's able to read a little bit of information about your emotional state as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay, awesome. Just mark one fey bargain on your sheet, and then you get to roll an extra die on your action roll. Okay, great. So that's a partial success for everybody. That is going to cost Vita 2 additional willpower, a total of 3. The 4 of you burst into the 2 rooms. Seth and Vita, the room that you get into, you actually snap a lock right off the door, and you are in what looks like the museum curator's office. There is nobody inside. You notice that there are 2 more doors that lead off of the side of the museum curator's office.
What do we get from our familiars that are with the other group?
Yeah. The Panther, Hollis, and Elise bust through their door, and they are standing face to face with this witch with brown hair, furiously jamming a button to try to set off an alarm. You hear a low beeping sound coming from the box as she steps back and draws a wand and points it at the two of you.
Seth, we need to go to the other group.
Yeah, I'm on it. Let's just go.
The two of you are making a run for it. Vita, your panther is there with Elise and Hollis as well. So who wants to take an action?
Can my panther try to snatch the wand out of the witch's hand?
Yeah, you did pretty well getting that shell bowl earlier. You want to try to finesse this as well?
Yes.
Awesome. And of course, Fey bargains and spending willpower to push yourself are also on the table to get you some extra dice.
I want the Fey bargain.
Okay. Regardless of whether you are successful or not, your panther bites her hand by accident and draws some blood.
Okay.
That just sounds like a bonus anyhow.
Partial success. Very good. You don't get the wand, but you do have her hand and her wand in your panther's mouth.
Am I having any negative effects now from the witch and the emotional effect I have from the Fey bargain?
I, walking, rubbing my sore shoulder, jamming it against that door, and stared daggers into the eyes of this witch. I say, "You impertinent wretch. How dare you oppose us? You will do as we say, or I go back to your boyfriend, and we leave him as we left the other guard."
Absolutely. I'm going to give you increased effect because you used leverage against her. Fantastic.
Alright, and I use willpower as well. Excellent.
All right. She drops the wand, and she appears to be trying to follow your orders to the best of her ability. Let's see what the cost is. Anybody have any ideas?
Maybe.
Possibly the cost is the call that she tried to make. They picked up and they hear us.
When she hit that button, it stayed held down, and so the people on the other end of that microphone are hearing everything that you said.
I don't mind an audience too much, even if it does get me in trouble.
Yeah, so I'm going to give +1 fate to the coven for that. She is completely willing to work with you, and she is completely open to however you want to handle your escape. So who wants to, I guess, maybe Elise continue to give her commands, and she'll just continue to follow them.
Alright.
Seth and I are caught up now.
Yeah, you come into the room.
A bigger audience. How lovely. We will live here today, and you and your little boy toy will be left alive for now. But you will feed me information when the museum acquires something useful. And if you fail to do so regularly, we will make a visit, and it will be unpleasant for all involved.
She nods and crouches to show subservience. She says, "The fastest way out," and points to a very poorly hidden door that exits her office to the street level.
Let us abscond before we get in more trouble. Unless anybody else wants to threaten my new plaything.
I'm tempted, but I feel like we should leave and hide her little charm somewhere.
Yeah, does anyone want to take her wand?
Oh, I have it.
Okay. All right.
Hollis is gonna pluck a few hairs off of her head before she leaves.
Nice. That's another material link for casting any spells on her in the future.
That way we don't have to worry about if we can find that stone or not. We still have a material link.
Good point. All right. Is that the end of the undertaking?
I'd like to get a good read on her for possible impersonation, posture, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sounds good. Such an unusual situation. You'll have reduced effect, but controlled. You're not in any real danger by doing it.
So I would study
Yeah.
fave argument.
She's gonna get a good read on you. She's gonna take out all her anger that she normally has toward this horrible job and all the stuff that's gone down today and fixate on you as the cause of her problems. You don't have to say yes to that. We can come up with something else, but that was my off the dome piece.
No, I think that's good. I think that works.
Okay, you can write her down as a rival then. Fantastic. You have her to the letter, which is surprising because you haven't seen her take that much action. You haven't seen what she's like when she's socializing. But you have, probably because of earlier, that psychometry and that connection that you had to her, you have a real bead on her in a way that even people that know her don't know her as well as you do.
Before we go to the coven, we hide anything of hers that she may be able to find us through.
It's been absolutely amazing running the game for you guys, and I'm very much looking forward to next week. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, darling. I shall be counting the days wistfully.
Good night, everybody.